All right, today we are going to tackle a really important and, let's be honest, often pretty confusing topic. What actually counts as sexual harassment in the workplace, legally speaking? It can seem like a gray area, but I promise by the end of this, you're going to have a really simple, clear way to understand it. So let's just start with a question, one that I'm sure a lot of us have thought about. Can a single joke, just one off-color comment, be enough to legally create what's called a hostile work environment? It seems like such a small thing, right? But where does the law actually draw that line? Well, let's find out. Okay, so to answer that question, we're going to dive right in. The whole goal here is to take the official, sometimes complicated legal standards and break them down into a simple framework that you can actually remember and use. We're going to cut through all that jargon and get to what really matters in the eyes of the law. So the best place to start is to understand that the law really sees sexual harassment in two main ways. You can think of them as two distinct categories or, two big buckets that all illegal conduct is sorted into. The first one is called quid pro quo. I know, it sounds a little fancy, it's Latin, but it literally just means this for that. And that describes it perfectly. This is when there's some kind of direct, inappropriate trade being offered. An employment benefit, a promotion, a raise, in exchange for some kind of sexual favor. And this really gets to the heart of the matter. At its core, this is a clear abuse of power. It's when someone in a position of authority links job benefits, like we said, a promotion, a raise, or hey, even just keeping your job, to sexual conduct. It's probably the most clear-cut, classic example of illegal harassment. Okay, so the second category is hostile work environment. Now, this one's different. It's not about a direct exchange. Instead, it's about the entire workplace atmosphere becoming, poisoned by unwelcome conduct. And you gotta pay attention to the key legal words here: severe or pervasive. This is huge. It means the behavior has to be either extremely serious in one go, or it has to happen so often that it literally changes your job conditions and creates an intimidating or abusive place to work. So what does that actually look like day to day? Well, it can be a whole range of things. It could be a constant stream of unwelcome sexual jokes, any kind of inappropriate touching, putting up offensive posters or images, or using sexually charged and offensive language. It's all about conduct that fundamentally makes the work environment toxic for an employee. So here you can see them side by side, which really helps make it clear. On one hand, you've got quid pro quo. That's the specific, transactional, this for that abusive power. And on the other, you've got the hostile work environment, which is all about creating that offensive atmosphere through conduct that's either really severe or just happens all the time. Two very different paths, but they both lead to an illegal outcome. Now, let's add one more piece to this puzzle. It's one of the most critical and honestly, one of the most misunderstood parts of this whole topic: the single incident rule. Right, this is where a ton of confusion comes in. I think a lot of people just assume that for something to be a hostile environment, it has to be a pattern, right? Something that happens over and over and over again. But is that always true? Well, the really crucial point here is that sometimes all it takes is one time. And the law is crystal clear about this. A single act, if it is severe enough, so extreme, it is absolutely enough on its own to create a hostile work environment. Think of something truly terrible, like a physical sexual assault at work, or an explicit threat. An act that severe doesn't need to be repeated to completely alter your job conditions. One time is more than enough. Okay, so we have the two classes, and we have the single incident rule. But so what? Why does it actually matter for everyone in every workplace to get these definitions right? Because it all comes down to this: clarity creates a safe culture. It just does. When everyone, from the top down, understands where the legal lines are, it empowers people. It gives you the language to identify and report behavior that's not okay, and it gives companies the framework they need to stop it from happening in the first place. So to wrap it all up, let's just boil it down to our simple 2-and-1 framework. Just remember this: there are two classes of harassment. You've got the this for that of quid pro quo, and you've got the toxic atmosphere of a hostile environment. And there is one critical rule: a single, really severe incident can be enough. So I'll just leave you with this one last question to think about. Now that you have this clear legal framework, how does it change your perspective on the interactions you see and have in a professional environment? Something to chew on. Thanks for tuning in.